The most common question I get on my stream is this hunter good or bad? And since the new patch dropped about 5 days ago, the one that introduced Tetra, I figured now is the perfect time to put a tier list together. I decided I'd play every single character on my stream yesterday to confirm some of my opinions and get a better feel of the meta, so you'll get to see some of that gameplay as we go. And honestly, I think you can climb to legend with any character you enjoy, except for maybe one. But here's my take on where everyone stands from my higher MMR perspective that may not necessarily apply to all MMR ranges or what skill level you are playing at. Alright, so the first character I'm going to talk about is BRALL. So first off, BRALL is a character that has been stable in the meta for a long time, and he's been overpowered several times, but he has been weak at one point or another. I think at the start of 1.0, he was very strong, but he ended up getting a 15% LMB damage nerf, which is pretty sizable, but I still feel like he is in a great place right now. I'm going to put BRALL in the higher part of A tier because I just generally think he's a great character for ranked. He has the escapability, he has the 1v9 potential. However, I don't think he actually is going to be better than the S and the S plus tier characters. I think he's close, don't get me wrong, but I think that there are other characters that are better right now. The only limiting downside is sometimes this early game can be a little bit lackluster, so if you're not drop lead and you don't know where your team's dropping you, you may struggle a little bit. Next up is CARBINE. In SUPERVIVE 1.0, the time to kill change kind of hurt this guy a lot. He used to kind of kill people with maybe like 5 or 6 autos, but now it's kind of taken him, 10 or 11. And I feel like that hurt this character a lot. Additionally, with the time to kill change, people are not dying in one single stun anymore. Maybe occasionally you do, but I feel like his micro stun from his cage is like not really mattering as much as it used to. For this reason, I'm going to be putting CARBINE in kind of the middle of B tier. I think he's definitely still a playable hunter and his mobility can still be good around some of the parts in the map, but for me, I feel like he's just lost some of his value with the time to kill changes. Next up is CRYSTA. CRYSTA is actually an interesting character. A lot of people were saying that she was good or bad. They weren't really sure at the beginning of SUPERVIVE 1.0. But as people have come to learn, Ultimate Diadem is one of the strongest level 3, level 2 relics in the entire game, and it turned this character from, oh, she's unplayable to a absolute demon in solo queue. If you don't have a relic, you don't have Ultimate Diadem or Isochron's or some of those CDR items, I would put her a bit lower. But with these items, I do actually think that she is around A tier and she performs pretty well and has a lot of carry potential. I definitely see somewhat of a resemblance to her release state where she was extremely strong. The one downside CRYSTA has is that her early game is extremely weak, one of the weakest of any characters, and so you are kind of at the whim of your team on that early game and kind of what you can do. But as long as you're playing safe in the early game and you kind of make it to the mid game and late game, you will be doing well with this character. Next up is Ghost. Ghost is another character that's been kind of like this stable character throughout all of time. He's never really been bad. He's never really been like oppressively good, maybe once or twice. I think right now he is in a very good spot. He's not too strong, not too weak, kind of in that middle ground where it's like you hit your nade, you're gonna kill someone probably. If you don't hit your nade, you're probably not killing anyone. And then he has some like utility with like sniping people out of cars with his laser, and then his ultimate stopping kind of the 6-second res beacons from going off occasionally. I think if you play this guy, you're pretty happy. You're not sad that you don't feel too weak and you don't feel like you're a god or anything like that. And for this reason, we're going to be putting Ghost in A tier. I think one of the downsides about the new map and playing Ghost is before you had a lot of choke points that you could play around with the walls, but now that the map has changed with a lot of Abyss and the spiking has kind of changed with glider heat, you are getting a lot less value as you did over the Abyss than maybe some other characters because you don't have walls in the Abyss and your spiking no longer is as good as it used to be. We're on to Jin, the Abyss Assassin. This guy is sometimes pretty frustrating to play against. However, I think at patch 1.01, emergency platform being added to the shops has helped diminish this guy's presence a lot. Jin is a harder character to play, so generally you're going to be seeing him a lot less successful in lower elos, but I think that his character struggles so much over land and is so good over the Abyss that having emergency platform as an option in the shop has actually hurt him a lot in the higher MMRs. And I think as people get accustomed to using emergency platform, I think it's just going to get worse and worse for Jin. I say all this, but I'm still putting Jin in A tier because I think he is very strong. He can kill 2 or 3 people of your team and still make it out alive, and he's definitely one of those characters that's extremely hard to catch and can always get their team back up. This guy definitely is like only scary if you're ever fighting a Jin main, but that's generally whoever is playing Jin is usually a Jin main. Next up is JOULE. JOULE has been hurt by the time to kill change a lot. You know, before she'd land 4 stacks on you and she would kind of burst you down and then kill you. But nowadays you kind of need to land almost 2 passive procs in order to kill someone as JOULE, and it's not always the case, but sometimes the case, and having to have to do that is pretty difficult a lot of the times. Additionally, I think her relic choice and grip choices are just not as useful as other characters. I find that how her primary attacks work and how her abilities work, generally you're just like not getting the same amount of usage out of some of the powerful CDR or damaging items as other characters are. I think like the armory and the time to kill changes definitely hurt this character, and for this reason I'm actually putting her in C tier right now. Still very playable, but you're gonna have to work a lot harder to make her work. Next up is our favorite archer girl, Myth. Myth has been a staple pick in competitive for a long time, but we're mainly talking about ranked here. And in ranked, there's a lot of things that this character struggles with right now, but there's some things that she does pretty well. I think that in general, she's the best longer range DPS in the game, but there's kind of not a lot of longer range DPS that are really being played right now. So when you are that like long range DPS, it sometimes helps to fight other long range DPS, but you're mainly going to be playing against these more short range or melee characters. Which sounds fine, you know, you shoot these melee characters, they go in on you, you RMB them back, you dash out. But one of the big issues that Myth has right now is the grip burning palm. Whenever an enemy lands an ability on her, and a lot of characters take this, whenever she tries to dash into a wall and you have the burning palm on her, she cannot dash into the wall, which is kind of a lot of her safety. It feels really bad when you're playing Myth and this happens, and it's not the end of the world. I still think that she's a strong character, she can make plays, she can get that DPS. But for this reason in ranked, I am going to be putting her in B tier. If this was a more Heimamar competitive scrim tier list, I would maybe be moving her to A tier. It's kind of close for me. Right now, I'm kind of leaning her towards B tier. B tier above Carbine. And now we have our rifleman of solar energy, SAROS. SAROS is in a kind of a weird spot where his RMB really does not feel as impactful as it once did. Before, it felt like damage really stuck or really was, you know, did a lot to people's HP bars, but nowadays it doesn't really feel like it. I feel like he's been more kind of like a, you shoot your orb, you explode them, and you kind of do burst and then like rapid fire rather than the poke that he kind of used to fulfill as a role. That being said, I do think that he's pretty fine right now. I don't think maybe he's probably not in the A tier or S tier or anything like that, but I feel comfortable putting him kind of in the middle of B tier. I feel like he's definitely playable. He has some utility with his ultimate, but I find that his poke is just like not what it used to be, and his burst and ionized passive like can deal a lot of damage, especially when you are not expecting it. Alright, and the next character, everyone's favorite, SHIV. SHIV is definitely the character that benefited the most from the armory. The long claw optics to increase her range, rocket high top boots to make her dash go further, Sunweaver 3 doing infinite damage and healing, Vibe Infuser for the infinite healing, and I mean there's probably some other builds that I don't even want to talk about. But this character is definitely very strong and definitely is a bit harder to play, but I think with the items right now, it is just like a lot more accessible to do what you want to do as SHIV. The one downside to playing SHIV is, you know, if you do miss your shots or you shoot a wall or you shoot something that doesn't give you a reset, you are gonna have to pop your ulti or dagger out or something. And I think this does hurt a lot and can sometimes bait your team to go for fights that you might not necessarily want to back out of. So as I played the game more and more on this 1.01 patch where she did receive some mobility adjustments and nerfs, I'm going to be putting SHIV in the S tier and not the S plus tier. I think she's still one of the best characters in the entire game, but there might be other characters that are on par with her or better. Next up, we're going to talk about SHRIKE. This character, I will say, is phenomenal in lower elo. Alright, if you're in low elo, or you're just starting out, or you're kind of in the average skill bracket, this character kills a lot of people. I've been playing my no armory account where I was just playing some random characters, and I played SHRIKE and I felt like Thanos. Like, it was insane. But as soon as you start fighting these melee characters or SHIV or BRALL or WUKONG that start jumping on you, the game becomes a lot harder. And with the armory system, you know, you can't go this air blast or hover wings or grab you the squid every game, but you're kind of just giving up a lot of damage that other characters don't really have to do to just play the game. Additionally, in ranked, generally, unless you're playing with like a coordinated 3-stack, no one is really ever going to be peeling for you. So you kind of just have to peel for yourself. She's one of the worst hunters over the abyss. Yeah, she can ground people, but I still feel like just there are many other options. I think the addition of emergency platforms in 1.01 in the shop definitely helped her a lot. I think this character is very hard to play against the kind of meta characters right now. Is it impossible? Absolutely not, because if you hot drop, you're easily going to be the most powerful character there. It's just if you can snowball that hot drop into the rest of the game and win before, you know, you get jumped on by all these melee characters. And for this reason, I'm going to be putting SHRIKE in the B tier. I think that generally she is still okay and she's still very pickable, but you are going to be dove on and you are going to have to play exceptionally well in higher MMRs. And like I'm saying, in average play and lower MMRs, this character probably still kills it out there. Now we're moving on to Bishop. Bishop is an all-around solid pick, strong at kind of all points of the game. Her early game's okay, her mid game's pretty good, her late game's pretty good. There's not really any dips in her strength level. She does have a lot of counterplay and people could dodge her abilities pretty easily. One of the things I feel like she's been struggling with is to find her identity in the armory. Whenever I look at all these relics and grips, a lot of the times on some characters I'm like, wow, that would be really insane, or that's insane. But I kind of look at all these items and I'm like, dang, I'm not really sure if this was made for Bishop. And I think when you start thinking like that, it makes the character feel a lot worse. Like you can go for some grabby the squid punches, or maybe Hover Wings 3 sends her in the air. I'm not even sure if that works. But all I know is that she's fairly inconsistent because you have to be really good at the character in order to keep landing your LMBs and getting a lot of damage. But don't get me wrong, if you land everything on this character, she is one of the best characters. For this reason, and with some of her inconsistencies, I'm gonna be putting her at the higher end of the B tier. I think she's definitely still really good, but I think right now she is not as good as these other characters that you're gonna see up here in the A tier. Oh, and before we move on, a lot of the people who watch my channel aren't actually subscribed, so if you can, just double check that. It helps me put out more videos like these more frequently. Anyways, thank you, back to the video. Next up is Kingpin, the hook guy. I think the armory has brought a lot of good items to Kingpin, such as Grabby the Squid, Vivant Infuser, or Essence Reaper. I think he's all around a solid pick, and especially when he's like that extra tanky mode Kingpin, it is very hard to eliminate this guy out of the game. Even if you are kind of caught out, you can always kind of run into the storm and just use your massive HP bar to just, you know, people can't really chase you out there as far. And I think that he also has a great dunking potential. The introduction to emergency platform in shop was kind of a little bit of a nerf to Kingpin, but also at the same time, I feel like he's one of the best like people to be on an emergency platform and kind of try to grab people from the abyss and then dunk them over the emergency platform. So I don't think it really hurt him as much as a dunking character. The one thing I will say about Kingpin is that when you are on land, when you land your stun, you don't always have the damage to kill people. And I think sometimes that if you don't have your team follow up with you, you are a bit limited on what you can do and what your like kind of 1v9 carry potential is. I think if you're playing with a team, like say you have a Tetra on your team, there is like a lot of good follow-up that you can have, and I think he becomes a lot better in like a team coordinated environment where you're calling out your hooks, calling out your stuns and whatnot. But for this reason, I'm going to be putting Kingpin in A tier. He's definitely going to be above Jin and maybe above Ghost here. Alright, and now we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite Firefox, FELIX. This guy has kind of gone through a lot of weird stages of SUPERVIVE 1.0. Everyone was like, oh, he's good, he's bad, he's good, he's bad. And I think recently there has been a build that has been circulating where you wax your flame spin, you take resonating idol, you go isocrods or something, and you only use your spin and your dash. You get a lot and you build full tank, and it is very strong when you fight these melee characters like BRALL, like WUKONG, and sometimes like SHIV. I don't know if it's necessarily the best, and there is definitely easily ways to counter it, but it does feel a bit strong sometimes and people do not expect it. What I'm saying here is I think he has a lot of good matchups, but he also has a lot of matchups where he kind of just doesn't do as much as you would want from a character on your team. Additionally, in ranked, if you're ever like ulting in and going in for a fight, you better hope that fight either doesn't get third-partied or you have a way to get out if it starts going badly. One of the most important things to me whenever I'm playing ranked is like have a way to get out of a fight and res my team, and I feel like FELIX in general is kind of one of the worst at doing that. So if you are playing FELIX, you definitely want to have someone on your team that, you know, is that like kind of I'm going to get out of the fight if it's going badly character, because FELIX is definitely not it. For me, I'm going to be putting FELIX at kind of the between A and B tier if I could add one, but for right now, I'm going to be putting him at the A tier above Bishop. Next up is the Robot Paladin Oath. I think Oath is one of the hardest characters in the game, and so if we are talking about kind of a higher MMR ranked lobby, he is going to be played by someone probably pretty decent, probably pretty good at him. I think in competitive scrims, he is still very good, but I think always in ranked, he's always had kind of a little bit less impact. Similar to FELIX, having to kind of go in and be that tanky meat shield sometimes can be the death of yourself, and if you don't have someone on your team that's like willing to play out or get that res off, you sometimes could be at the whim of whoever you have rolled in solo queue or ranked, and that's not always the best. Additionally, I do think his damage profile, while you can build like a crazy damage build, I still think it struggles to carry kind of like 1v9 if you're trying to really carry the game. He is more of a supportive hunter nowadays, and I think that's fine, but you will need some extra damage from your team, whereas some of these other characters in the higher tier, if given the opportunity, can take over a game. For this reason, I would be putting Oath above CARBINE, SAROS, and SHRIKE in the B tier. I think he's definitely still playable and he's a very rewarding character to play, but I do think that sometimes it is harder to gain RP on this character, which is kind of the whole idea of ranked, unless you kind of have like this duo partner that you're playing with that kind of does a lot of the damage or follows up on your CC really well. And next up is ELLUNA. I have always rated ELLUNA very lowly in my tier list. For instance, like the past year, I probably would have been putting her in D tier. However, I think the item changes with the rocket high top boots, with air blasts, with GA, with resonating idol. I think that she actually has a few options, and I think she's a lot better than she used to be. Is she better than ZEPH? No. But I think she is a lot better than she used to be. One of my main gripes is still with her ultimate. It still kind of feels lackluster to me. It's like you kind of want your target to die, but then you don't want them to die. It's kind of a bit weird. I think that the character, whenever I play her, she still does have some mana issues, but if you go dash engines, the mana problems kind of go away for the most part. But I think for me, this is probably the era of like the most skillful ELLUNA play. I think with Air Blast, it gives you a lot of opportunities to Air Blast people off a Wisp, pick them up, get your dash, rocket high top boots out there, you know, that kind of gameplay, and I think that you actually can make a lot of plays happen. For this reason, I'm actually putting ELLUNA in A tier. Does this mean that ELLUNA is always better than these characters in B tier? Not necessarily, but I think if you're trying to play a support, I think that you're generally going to find more success playing ELLUNA than, say, Oath. Next up we have ZEPH, which is the damage support CC healer guy. Kinda does it all. I think if you pick ZEPH and you have one guy on your team that you know is going to go freaking beast mode, this guy is awesome. His R&B to heal, his dash to let your teammates go in more and use their dashes to chase, his grenade, his ulti, it's all pretty good, alright? I think one of the things that ZEPH can struggle with sometimes is dealing with maybe BRALL, maybe SHIV, maybe WUKONG, which are really good characters right now. But I think ultimately he is the best support in the game, and I think that he is just overall a really strong character that has good damage, good healing, and great mobility. Additionally, some other characters have mana issues just by playing their character, like say BEEBO or Eva. ZEPH really only has mana issues if he's spamming his R&B, which he doesn't really necessarily have to do. For this reason, I'm actually putting ZEPH up here in the A tier above KINGPIN. I think he's a really strong character and definitely the best support in the game right now. Now it's time to talk about Eva. This character feels like a super different character than she did a week prior to SUPERVIVE 1.0. At the moment, I've heard good things from lower elo and average play that Eva is performing fine, but in my opinion, this character just struggles in higher elo games. I like playing Eva. I was the Eva player from my team in scrims and tournaments, and I wish I could play the character every once in a while, but honestly, this has probably been one of the worst characters I've ever seen in higher MMR. At the moment, her R&B orbs are kind of just getting killed by a lot of things. It feels like they're not healing off the minions. Her ulti literally just gets one shot by everything, and the stun, you really can't even kill anyone in the stun anymore. Additionally, people just have a lot more mobility than they used to with rocket high top boots gliding out, you know. I feel like landing your ult is significantly harder than it used to be. And people in the late game are playing at a much faster pace and you're not kind of letting people jump in on you. Ultimately, to me, on this character, if you're playing it in higher ranks, you're kind of just hoping that you're getting carried. Which is fine. There are still times in the game where it's like, oh dang, there's an Eva on the enemy team and it's harder to push them. But I know as soon as I like hit my power spike on whatever character I'm playing, I'm gonna feel a lot better going into that matchup, and I'm probably just gonna kill her later in the game. So for now, I'm going to be putting her in D tier. I don't think that she is truly unplayable, but I think that she is easily the worst character in the game. Alright, next up is BEEBO, everyone's favorite little chaotic troublemaker. BEEBO actually got a lot of changes in SUPERVIVE 1.0, allowing his bomb to res allies and use your bomb to jump off of it like a jump pad.
He's about to res us right now.
Oh my god, no!
His heals just feel also a lot more impactful for some reason. Additionally, I think that his armory choices are really good. I think that his Grabby the Squid is obviously excellent on BEEBO. I think Ultimate Diadem 2, 3 is also excellent on BEEBO. And I think Resonating Idol 2 is amazing on BEEBO. Ultimately, there are a lot of good things going for BEEBO right now. And if you've watched my stream, you've probably been seeing me pop off on BEEBO a lot. For me, the ability to res your team with their B-bomb gives you so much utility that he didn't have before, and the amount of ICEEPs that I've been able to use to kill Shivs, Brawls, Wukongs, etc. has been like insane. So for me, this character does have its rough mana issues and its rough early game. I think once you get your dash engines, once you get your relics online, I think this character becomes a monster. It is extremely powerful. For me, I'm putting BEEBO in the S tier, not above Shiv, but next to Shiv, as one of the strongest characters I think in high MMR ranked right now. Some people may disagree, but I swear this guy is nuts. Next up, we're going to talk about Tetra. And I've been playing a lot of Tetra, and I think that she's really good. I think one of the things about the character, though, is that you kind of have to build CDR, because if you're caught without CDs, you kind of just have to use your LB and just hop away and hope that you escape. But if someone sticks on you, you might be cooked. You're kind of like, in my opinion, forced to build somewhat of a CDR-focused build, which kind of limits her build options a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Additionally, I think that people have yet to reach, you know, kind of like the mastery of what this character can do. There's so many more things that people can learn about her. And already right now, I think that she is near the top of the A tier. I think that she's a really good character, great dunking potential, great damage, great mobility, great clutch potential, hopping on her walls, going over buildings, has great ways to play in the abyss. And so for me, I'm going to be putting her above ZEPH, below CRYSTA, and BRALL though. Alright, next up we're going to be talking about Void. I think this guy's always been a sleeper pick, and I feel like he still is. He's one of the only characters in the game that can still one-shot you even though he doesn't have a dunk. If he lands a stun, he ults you, you're kind of just dead. He could pretty much solo kill you at that point, but usually his allies are hitting you too. One of the things I do like about Void right now in the current armory and relic system is that there are a lot of options. You can go bungee, you can go Grabby the Squid, you can go just like CDR items. There's a lot of different things that Void can do, and he's pretty flexible with how you want to play him. For me, I've not been seeing a ton of Voids, but I sincerely think that this character is really good and underutilized as he always has been. One of the issues that Void kind of has right now is that the map is so full of Abyss that he's probably one of the worst characters at crossing Abyss because he does not have a usual dash-like mechanic. So having a Mercy platform in the shop definitely helps him deal with some of the dunking characters as well as just getting spiked in general. But I think if you were playing this character smart, you're playing, you're getting in the Sky Sharks and you're teleporting up on top of terrain, I think he is a very good character and I am putting him in A tier. He's definitely not an easy character, and you do have to kind of learn the ins and outs of him, but when you do, I think he is very strong. Next up is HUDSON. Some people may put HUDSON in C tier or D tier, but I actually think he's a little bit higher than that. I think that with a Resonating Idol 2 build, stacking it up on your barbed wires and still able to use your dash, you're obviously still able to use your RMB. I think it actually makes HUDSON a lot more playable and actually somewhat of a counter to some of the characters on the higher tier. The one matchup that HUDSON does struggle with a lot is Shiv. She can get dagger through the barbed wires, go behind him. It's like the easiest shots in the world to land on HUDSON. And so for that reason, it's hard to put him higher than B tier. Additionally, Wukong kind of just messes him up too with his RMB because he can just go over the wires, stun him, cancel out his RMB channel time. I think HUDSON kind of just has problems with kind of the two main meta dominant characters in the game right now. And so for this reason, I'm going to be putting HUDSON actually in the bottom of B tier. I think that he is definitely still harder to make work than some of these other characters, but I think you definitely can. And now we're moving on to our Monkey King, Wukong. This guy, right now, I think that in high MMR, he is the god of SUPERVIVE. This guy has infinite vertical mobility, he has infinite horizontal mobility, his R&B dunks people off the screen. With rocket high top boots, his dunk goes even further. I think that this character is definitely on the harder side and is definitely more oppressive in higher MMRs than lower MMRs. He definitely is a bit harder to play. But I think when someone has put in the time to learn this character, it becomes very, very apparent how strong this character is. If he gets a crown, usually he is getting that crown off. There's not much you could do about it. He's going to jump over buildings, he's going to hop on the buildings, press his R&B, stall for as long as he can, go in the storm, press his R&B, get the shield, stall as long as he can, jump over the abyss. You finally get up close to him, he's going to press his ulti and immune it, and then he's going to press his R&B again. I think this guy is just very strong with his cooldowns while still providing so much damage and so much CC to his team. Can he definitely still lose the game? Yes, for sure. I do not think that he's unbeatable or anything like that, but I think that if you are going for the most consistent character in ranked, it is definitely going to be Wukong, as it's very hard if you are playing well to die, and it's very hard to not pick up a few dunk kills in the middle of a game for some extra kill points. And for this reason, I'm putting Wukong in the S+ tier in high MMR ranked because I think that he is just that good, and once people even get better at him, he is going to become even more of a problem. And finally, the best for last, my beloved Celeste. Ever since the game changed from squads to trios, she's always kind of taken a hit as a character that did a lot of AoE damage. Since then, her ultimate has become a lot harder to land, just in general because there's one less player, and I don't think anything has really changed since SUPERVIVE 1.0. She does have some good armory options with Resonating Idol 2, or Songbow, or Sunweaver, or Hover Wings. I think if you're trying to pick a character to do damage that kind of plays more like Celeste, you're probably better off picking CRYSTA, and if you're trying to pick a character that's more like a controller and like CC oriented, you're probably better picking BEEBO. She's kind of in this middle area where I don't think that she excels at landing her ultimate, even with Hover Wings, because everyone is so mobile with rocket high top boots and lower CDs. And so for this reason, I am putting Celeste in the B tier, above Myth, and above all these other characters. I think that she's still very playable, and I win with her all the time, but I do think that you have to work your ass off to get a win. But that's my tier list for SUPERVIVE 1.01. If you guys liked it, give the video a like, and I'll probably make one for the next patch as well. But that's it for now. Peace, y'all.